Welcome back, Guardian, and thanks for tuning in as always. So I've made a ton of mobility, recovery, resilience videos in the past, and in Shadowkeep, it's still relevant in today's date than it was when I made those videos before Shadowkeep. The recovery times are the same, mobility reacts the same, resilience got a little bit of a bump, but it's still useless in PvE. But I want to talk about recovery and mainly mobility in this video and show you why a 0.9 milliseconds can be a lot of recovery time. So this is a list UTEPR's made. I actually got the times and he gave me the footage to get the times. So we kind of worked together on this. But if you look at 7 and 6 recovery, it doesn't seem like that's a lot of time to recover on paper. But when you're actually in combat, I just wanted to show you the example of what that actually means. Just by using a base game wizard, they have a repeatable shot pattern, so you can kind of see how the health stage builds back up at 7 versus 6. So starting off, we're going to be at 7 recovery. Just pay attention to my recovery meter. Every time I'm shot, the wizard pauses, and my health builds back up, and then she starts shooting again, and I can never die because of the 7 recovery and that sweet spot when it comes to this base game wizard. This is just an example, just to show you the 0.9 millisecond in time difference from the 7 to 6, but I just want to show you the importance of getting that first tick of health back, and how over time, those milliseconds keep adding up over and over as you keep getting small chips of health when you're in your red stage and getting it back over and over. Your recovery, as I've said in the past, is actually your resilience in PvE, and resilience doesn't give you enough health to even build for it because you sacrifice stats like mobility and recovery that are way more important than what the resilience ever will add for you. You get more health back from your recovery than you do by having resilience and no recovery, if that makes sense. So here we are doing the 6 recovery now, that 0.9 millisecond. Pay attention to the red stage of health and watch as it builds back or as it doesn't, and we're missing out on that 0.9 millisecond, and it doesn't have enough time to keep building itself back up over and over. So if I had other acolytes shooting at me plus this wizard, or an ogre, or anybody shooting at me, just having that little bit of seconds to get that 1 pinch of health back or 2 pinches or whatever, it really does add up over time. And when you're at that sweet spot of 7 and up, you really notice that difference because you're pushing in close on adds and you keep getting your health back over time. And when you're at 6 and lower, when you're pushing against adds and you're not getting that first pinch of health back, it's every time you get hit with any damage, that timer starts over again. So that 0.9 seconds just keeps building up more and more, and that's more time passing that you're not getting health back. Before Shadowkeep, I made a video called The Power of Rustobuilds, where I was explaining why I put the things in my builds that I do, and showed some detailed explanations over recovery, resilience, and just different aspects like that. I'll leave links to that below, and I'll also leave a link to The Power of Mobility that also goes really in depth on how mobility values work. But I wanted to focus on Shadowkeep and the champions in mobility. The higher you crank up the difficulty in Destiny, the more velocity the AI bullets have, the harder they hit, and the quicker they move around. So that's really when you want to get that enhanced gameplay with your mobility and your recovery. And I know there's a lot of new players that get misinformed saying that, oh, stats don't matter. They get told from various people they play with that have heard it from somebody else, and that word gets around and then people never build out. They never know what they're missing out on. And it's all because it's a pain to test stats in this game, so nobody really wants to do it, and they make the assumption. And that's what I'm going to talk about the rest of this video, is that 7-up mobility and how it benefits you against the most challenging enemies. Starting off with 5 plus traction, which is 6 mobility. One thing you'll instantly notice is you got to have really good foresight to know when to start moving a lot faster than as if you would have if you were at 7 mobility. You have to start pre-planning, know where the AI is coming, and start moving well ahead of time because your responsiveness on your controller and how fast you react isn't going to be nearly as quick by having lower mobility values. 7 and up is just the sweet spot, and we're going to be talking about that in a second, but I want to go over the 6 mobility first. 6 mobility might seem fast right here, but if I make one wrong move or misread where that ogre's going to step, I don't have near the responsiveness to correct any mistakes that I make, such as right there, that little pinch of health that it gave me right there. If I could have got back around that rock that much quicker, and then I misread the step, and then I had no time to correct it and move myself around that rock. I'm going to be going over multiple examples of this. This time I knew to read that ogre, to know it was coming, to start moving well ahead of time. But like I said, if I was on 7 mobility, I can wait a little bit longer, and I have time to correct any mistakes. Right there, I got a little bit of health pinched away. I start moving around the rock again. The ogre is there. It still pinches me because I don't move fast enough. And when you start getting hit by ogres, you start slowing down while you're getting sprayed. So that's another reason mobility is good as well, because you slow down when you're in like wizard fog or getting sprayed by ogres or shooting your weapon. All that stuff slows your mobility down slower than what your mobility number is at. Here's another example when I try to move around that rock. it just hits me that much faster because I can't clear enough ground per movement. So it may seem that I'm moving around rather quickly at 6 mobility, that small subtle difference of being hit and not being hit, and it's hard to explain to people why mobility is so good without trying to show these in-depth kind of situations that can happen where you don't realize it's good until you're in the situation to know that it's actually benefiting you. And then right there, I start losing my footing, I start trying to shoot the ogre, and I start slowing down. Now let's move over to 7+ traction, which is 8 mobility, and look at how much of a big difference this is just as far as my movement and moving around this rock. You can already tell how much more responsive my Guardian is, and how when I start getting sprayed at, I can instantly just kind of get out of the way before I start getting my shield busted. And if I were to get hung up or make any mistakes, I'm quick enough to still kind of correct it, and it gives me a second chance. I'm going to show other situations in a second, but I really wanted to focus on just the movement around this rock with this unstoppable champion. I don't even have anything unstoppable on right now. I'm just doing it for the sake of this video, just to show you how much more fluent my gameplay is and how I have complete control, even over a situation like that where I got hung up on my reload, but I was still able to get out of there by being just that much quicker rather than being at 6 mobility and getting hung up and getting blasted to death. In the base game of Destiny, you don't have to be really as critical on your stats because the game's rather easy. So when it comes to your master in-game build, you want to be building out for situations like this to where you're optimized in all situations. I can just keep circling this, and I actually do for a really long time because I really wanted to stress just how important and how fast and quick and in control that I am of everything that I do on my Guardian right now. Now let me put the unstoppable melee on. Let's go back to just 7 mobility. We're going to be using 6+ traction. We're going to have 7 recovery. The discipline and all this other stuff I'm not really focused on right now. This isn't really a build tutorial. This is just a stat tutorial. So we're going to be at the 7 mobility, 7 recovery, and I'm going to be using Stormcaller, which is pretty much just a support class for base game nowadays like Menagerie or some regular Nightfalls. It's not that great in master level in-game stuff like this, so I don't really recommend it as much, but it does have its place in the Nocris Nightfall, so you can kind of use it here, but with a team, not really on a solo aspect kind of like this. Now watch my recovery. I'm at that 7 recovery. I can get over there just a little bit quicker, and the higher my recovery, the faster that recovery meter builds up when I'm in that rift. I'm going to hop around this rock and head back over to that other rock that we were at just a second ago, and I'm going to strafe around this and finish melting this ogre without getting killed or getting hung up or having to get sprayed at by having that 6 mobility that you saw earlier. I can still move around this rock really easily and still shoot him with the fusion rifle and go ahead and just take this dude out. And that is the power of mobility versus champion or unstoppable champions or whatever kind of champion or nightmare you throw yourself against. Your movement speed is optimized to keep you in the battle with that recovery. Now watch the hang time on this rocket launcher when I go down here and watch how this strategy all plays out. So I do this, alloy casing reload, lets me reload it right before I hit the ground. That's why I love alloy. Then I slam with the Stormcaller. And then these dudes I'm not going to be able to take out. I don't have anything else to bust their shields with or anything. I'm really just in this Nightfall naked pretty much. I loaded in just to play around with mobility. I wasn't trying to do a solo or anything, but as you can see right here, just strafing left to right, avoiding all of these shots. By having that 7 up, if I'd have been 6 or lower, I'd be taking a lot more of these hits over time, and they add up. But when you have good recovery and that good movement speed, you're not hit by nearly as many shots at higher level difficulties where the shots are a lot faster, and you can maintain your recovery. So whether you're on a fire squad or if you're doing it solo, you can keep peeking in and out of these rocks and do damage without taking as much damage. Right here, just strafing out of the way, those side strafes add up. It makes it to where you don't have to boost as much to keep your momentum going. You can still rely on your just regular strafes without having to add in boosts and stuff. And when you are boosting, your fall speed, when your boost ends, is that much quicker as well the higher your mobility. Whether you're falling backwards or side to side, your forward falls don't count, but your sideways and your backwards falls are that much quicker. And then your short hops from area to area, or when you're proccing your Icarus grip on your fusion rifle for that lingering damage, that helps as well. And now you're going to see this field prep cluster with this unstoppable melee melt him real quick to get that damage out before he recovers. Now I'm going to show you champion boomers and how you can control them and why your mobility matters for them as well. So they read your joystick. If you start joysticking to the right or left, they already predict where you're going to be landing, because that's just how it is on master levels or legendary levels. Their prediction and their shot patterns and their accuracy are just that much more on point. So the more mobility you have, the more in control you have from moving side to side or backwards or whatever you're trying to do. You cover more ground. You can proc them to shoot more higher because your natural hop is higher. So they proc to shoot to a different level of height, which actually will go over your head And you get more control when you learn how to maneuver your joystick left to right. You know, if you start going too hard right, they're going to be following you with the shot to the right. So the higher your mobility, the more you actually control the boomers themselves. Now I'm going to close this out with 5 mobility. This is where I was at early in the game. I was trying to still work on builds and stuff like that, but watch how slow my backward strafe is, just trying to get away from these slashing thrall. I was low light as well, trying to do a master nightmare, and that speed is just horrible. And this is actually footage that procked the idea for this video. I didn't know how I was going to make this video, but I just had to let people know to go up to 7 and up mobility, and I had to remake the video specifically for these nightmares at master and legendary levels. When I was trying to peek in and out of cover at 5 mobility, I just couldn't catch a rhythm where I felt like I couldn't like hang out long enough to get shots and then strafe back quick enough. I just kept getting melted over and over, just trying to walk to the side of that block right there. It just wasn't quick enough. Right here, my peaks just suck because I can't hang out long enough and get shots off because I can't get back to cover fast enough. So he kept just picking me off over and over again. The audio for this gameplay is muted on purpose because I was just talking crap about my build the entire time. I was also doing this live stream. Those of you who are watching now probably remember this footage where I was just complaining the entire time. Was not having fun in here. Every movement that I would make, anytime ads would come in on me, anytime I was trying to peek around corners for this boss, I mean every situation that I had, I just said to myself, I'm recording this and I'm going to make another mobility video for these master level and legendary nightmares because it's really important. I think that it's a completely slept on stat that not many people focus on. So always focus on your stats. They completely matter in the game. And that is it, Guardian. Thanks for watching this video. I hope that I got enough information out. If you want to learn more, I'll link in the description below the power of Rustobuilds and the power of mobility. They go in a lot more in depth. If you want to join our B Squad to help support this channel, keep cranking out some more content, click that join button, or you can shop at teespring.com/Rustobuilds to get a souvenir or a keepsake, or you can throw a donation at paypal.me/Rustobuilds. If you like the video, leave a thumbs up. It's all because of you that I make this content to help our community grow and help Destiny grow to get more players involved in becoming Beast. So hit that subscribe button, and I will see you all on the next video next time.
In space.